The podcast you're about to hear involves true stories, which may contain graphic content that is not suitable for children. Listener's discretion is advised. This is Esoteric Oddities.
I'm thinking about where to put my gum and I don't know what to do with it. Should I stick it under the table?
No. What are we in high school? Here, here's a tissue.
Sarah's the friend that when you need someone like to throw out your gum, she'll stick out her hand and let you spit your gum out in her
sure
hand.
will, and I'll figure it out.
All I can say is my lower back
is killing me, and I need a chiropractor.
I didn't pee before we pressed record. Now I have kidney stones, but no, it's fine. I hold my pee in all the time.
Go pee.
No, it's fine.
Go now.
No, I'm training myself to pee within myself. It's a time saver.
Disgusting.
Are you-
Disgusting.
That's how you get all the nutrients. Are you kidding me?
That's really gross.
You haven't been doing that? Then you haven't been taking full advantage of the food you're eating?
You're going to get a TGI Fridays. Have you been seeing those tweets?
No.
It's like pee after sex, so you'll get a TGI Fridays. Pee after sex, so you'll get like an HGTV. It's so stupid.
I love HGTV.
Let me tell you about my fucking week. All right. So the company will remained. Am I good? Unnamed for security purposes.
Security.
So I had this group in, and they randomly selected people in Philadelphia to come here and participate in this thing.
Oh, you did tell me about this.
I did?
Yeah. I think so.
So these people were stealing. We have like snacks set up like all day. These people were stealing.
Okay, hold on,
snacks.
wait. Before, are these randomly selected people?
Yes.
Was there any criteria for who they are, or do you not know? Or these are like randos off the street who are living in the city?
Yes.
Okay. Heard
I
that.
think they were low income people.
Okay.
And they were stealing snacks like, I gotta feed my kids. A woman was smoking in the bathroom. They were eating in the bathroom.
It's okay. You can eat out in the
They
dining
were sleeping
area.
on the furniture.
Was it like really, really low income? Because they may have been people who like needed that shit.
I don't know. Probably.
Do you know what the seminar was for?
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, can you not say?
You can edit this out.
Okay.
It's a.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That totally makes sense then. Well, I think they got their answer. Holy shit.
Yeah, so.
That's interesting.
A woman was fucking yelling at me because I couldn't tell her directions to the garage because she wasn't listening to what I was saying. She's like, I've been out here since 6 a.m. Like, ma'am.
I'm trying to help you out.
Your GPS doesn't work. Get a new one.
Get a new one. Get a new TomTom. Do you remember those?
I think that's what she had because it was not updated.
When people like... rewind. My father... inventor of toaster strudels, he used to get, I remember he would buy these CD-ROMs. Remember a CD-ROM?
Do you remember those?
It was called, I think, Streets and Maps, and it was before GPS TomToms.
Ew, and you would put them in your...
No, he would have to put it in a laptop, and he would have to have it downloaded he would have to have an internet connection, download it to his computer, and then have his computer opened on his thing. It was like digitized maps. Like it wasn't a GPS, so it wasn't telling him where to go. And I remember back in high school when I was in French club and I hosted French club at my house and the girl from MTV Made came over. And when I was sending out like how to get to my house, I'd use MapQuest. I was like, hey guys, here's how to get to my house via MapQuest.
Your little cul-de-sac.
Cul-de-sac.
These nuts.
Hey, can I tell you about my weird fucking weekend?
Yeah, tell me.
So a lot of weird things have been happening where starting last weekend, I told you the beginning what happened last weekend, where I've been saying things and they've been happening, not all of them good. So let's start off with Saturday. Last week I was having these reoccurring nightmares almost every night that someone was breaking into my house and murdering me when I was home alone. And I told Jason, I was like, Jason, I keep having these nightmares. He's like, well, it's honestly probably because of the podcast you listen to, two, the podcast you're doing research for, and three, fucking shows and documentaries you watch on your time off when you're not doing research or listening to creepy shit.
Literally.
He might
have a case. Get it?
He might have a point. Yes. Well, so Saturday comes around. I get up really early for some reason, and I clean my house, and it's about like 8 o'clock when I'm done cleaning my house.
Ew, 8 a.m.? Why were you up that early?
I was up at like
Moving
6-ish.
around.
I was up at 5 on Wednesday. I ran 5 miles.
Oh my God, I remember that. Everyone congratulate him for running 5 miles. Now.
Do it now, or we're going to stop this podcast.
I'm saying, is that what you want?
So I clean my house. I go upstairs and I shower. But before I go upstairs and shower, okay, mind you, Jason's at work. Jason works weekends, and my brother is helping somebody move in because they had to go get a truck and all this shit. So it was pretty early. Around like 8:30, and I lock my front door, which I usually don't do in the mornings on a Saturday when it's sunny as fuck out, because I don't really live in a neighborhood where you have to do that. But
they
I do.
can leave their packages out on the step. That's how great it is.
So I go to take a shower, I turn on the water, and something tells me to go back downstairs and lock the top lock, like the bolt lock. So I go downstairs, I meander my way down the stairs, scuttle, if you will, and I lock the top lock, and I go back upstairs and I take my shower. Like probably an hour later, I think it was around like 10-ish, I am sitting in my bed, and how my bed is, if I'm sitting up against the wall behind me, there's a window above my head. And that window looks out on the street, and directly below the window is my front door that I just locked. So my window's open, and I hear our like storm door open. Like, is it called a storm door? Because I think when I told somebody that, they thought it was like the cellar door. It's like the spring-loaded front door that people leave open. Do you know the one I have upstairs
Why do they call it a storm door?
I don't know. I'm going to look it up and see if it's called a storm door. Yes, it is a storm door.
Yes. Point 1 for Gryffindor.
Thank you. Well, because, in The Wizard of Oz where she's trying to open up the cellar door, the ones that are downstairs.
Is that a storm door?
No, the storm door is what I have. A cellar door is what Dorothy had.
Oh, yeah.
Mind you, I watched that Saturday, ironically. Later that night, I got drunk by myself, watched it, and cried. And I was like, you know what, bitch, there really is no place like home. But I digress. So I hear this. I hear the storm door open because the springs, like you can hear it, it's loud. And I'm like, maybe my brother came home. Maybe like something happened.
Right.
Or maybe Jason forgot something. But then I don't hear anybody like jiggling for keys or anything. And then I hear a knock at the door, and I'm like, oh God, what the frick is this? So I'm like, something told me don't go downstairs. So I was like, okay, it's 10 o'clock in the morning at this point, mind you. And it's like a sunny ass Saturday morning, and I hear people doing yard work like 3 doors down. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and not do anything. If they're leaving a package, they can just leave it. I have nothing that I need that's going to be delivered that I need to sign for. So I don't answer it. And then I hear like the handle of my front door jiggle. Like someone's trying to open the door. And then I hear it like budge a couple times. And I'm like, what the fuck? So then I'm waiting, and I like check my phone to see if anybody texts me. Nobody texted me. And my landlord had done this before, where I was up on the 3rd floor, and I heard somebody yelling my name, and I was like, who the fuck is in my house? And it was my landlord who just let himself in.
Love that.
So I was like, maybe my landlord was coming over, and I was like, fuck, is my landlord here? Like, what does he need to be here for? So I checked my emails. I didn't get any email from my landlord. So I was like, who the fuck is opening my door and trying to come in? So I wait a second, and then I hear the storm door close. So I'm like, okay, maybe they walked away. I look out the window and I try to see who it is, but at the angle that my house is at, I couldn't see below. So I don't see anybody. So I wait a second. I peek my little head around to see if anybody's still standing at the window. Nobody's there. My cat is staring at the door, and her back is arched and her tail's all puffed up.
Nope.
And she doesn't do that ever. And she's like really verbal, and she doesn't really meow a lot. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I open the door, and there's like a Jehovah's Witness paper.
Nope.
So I'm thinking,
Why
what
are
the
you trying
fuck?
to jiggle my door?
Yeah, what the fuck was a Jehovah's Witness trying to do getting in my house? 1, 2, when I told Kiko, because I picked her up about an hour later, when I told Kiko that, she was like, oh no, that probably wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. That was going to be, if you answered the door, they would have been like Jehovah's Witness. But why would they, if they really thought nobody was home and the door was locked, why would they have left a paper? I don't know. That shit was just weird. So I was like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't tell Jason that I fear being murdered while I'm home alone. So then the same day, I go to the liquor store. And do you remember that one time when we were driving through the parking lot and I told you people can't fucking drive in this drive?
Yes, and they almost hit us.
And this person, when I tell you this person was going maybe like 15 miles per hour and turned into the into the parking lot and almost hit Sarah and me like full on frontal. And
literally after he just got done saying that
Yeah.
people didn't know how to drive into this parking spot.
seconds later. And mind you, we weren't like behind a bush or anywhere out of vision. Like he could clearly see us, and he like was driving down the road a little while we were waiting at the stop sign. So in the same shopping center, I go in and I bought a bottle of Malibu, which is glass, and then I was going to buy a bottle of Bacardi. So the Bacardi, they had a glass bottle and a shatterproof bottle, which is just plastic. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get the plastic bottle because it's probably worse for the fucking environment, but bitches be dropping shit. And I said this out loud to Kiko and she laughed. She was like, haha, bitches do be dropping shit. We go to check out. And the woman rings me out, goes to hand me the bag. When she lifts the bag, the fucking bottom of the bag, half the bottom of the bag breaks. The shatterproof bottle goes on the floor and bounces because it's plastic. The glass bottle stays inside. And Kiko just looked at me. I was like,
are you hearing this?
And then I won $1 million, and I'm still waiting on that one. I'll check in with you guys later.
You'll be waiting a while.
But then, okay, wait, the weirdness doesn't stop, and this is all this week. So then on Wednesday, I'm supposed to be going out with my coworker, Kayla, for her 21st birthday, and Jason wanted to go, and we've had this discussion before where I don't want to tell him what to do, but he wanted to wear his overalls, and I was like, Jason, must we wear the overalls when you're meeting people for the first time? Like, he looks cute in them when they were longer, but then it started getting hot out, and he cut them into shorts, and they're just like, he cut them like so it's not cut properly, so it just like looks weird and frumpy.
Anna cuts all of her stuff.
I know, but she's good at it. I'm sorry. No, Jason knows how I feel, but I really don't want to tell him how to fucking dress, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
I'm gonna tell you.
So this fucking day, this is probably like 2 or 3 hours later, I'm editing. I'm at work. I'm editing. Got my headphones in. I'm listening to Straight Up with Stassi, which for those of y'all who don't know is Stassi Schroeder from Vanderpump Rules, and she's talking about her boyfriend. And the day that they met, homeboy was wearing overalls. And then she was talking about, she was like, this boy came into a West Hollywood bar wearing overalls. I knew that he was cooler than me, but also I wanted to break up with him because I don't like a man wearing overalls. And then she was like, the girl who's on the podcast with her, was like, yeah, the day I met him, he was wearing overalls too, and that was the day you fell in love with him. So I texted Jason. I was like, you can wear the overalls, but isn't that weird?
You gave in. So
okay,
cute.
wait, it's not over yet. Remember last time we were recording the podcast, we were playing that song,
I smoke a lot.
the Take Me There song, the Rugrats.
Take me there, wanna go there.
Yes.
It's okay.
So when we were recording that, I guess was the same day that Carrie was vlogging, but like we were doing it real time, and the day she posted her vlog like today or yesterday,
right.
And that same day she was listening to that song. I was like,
Shut
bitch,
up.
when the fuck have I ever listened to that song? Last time I listened to that song was probably the 4th grade.
Was probably when you saw Rugrats.
Probably, but fuck.
Take me there.
I wanna go there. But then on Thursday I was doing research and I thought my cat was downstairs and the door was closed, and I had been in my room for about 2.5 hours, and she came out from under my bed and licked my leg. And when I say I screamed like a little bitch because I literally thought my childhood nightmares were happening.
Funny.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's been up.
So we're just a bunch of psychics in here, is what you're saying?
Either that or I'm manifesting shit that I don't mean to manifest. Wait, one more thing. Are you guys tired of hearing me blab my mouth hole?
Yeah, they said they want to hear more of me. They emailed.
Oh, and they also said they actually want to hear a lot of silence.
Okay, we could do that.
Okay, ready?
Go.
Okay, that was fun while I was dead.
Okay, great.
But I was pulling out of my work and I have a blind spot. It's kind of hard to explain, but there's like a little curve when you're leaving my office parking lot, and the way that when I pull out, if a car's in a right spot, they're in my blind spot until I get to the street, and that's what happened today. But I was paying attention. Well, this guy like slows down and he gives me a look, and I was like, "Oh, sorry."
Sorry,
I just
sir.
I waved. I was like, "Sorry, that was my bad. Like you were in my blind spot. It wasn't his fault.
Right.
It was technically my fault, but he was in my blind spot." So then he drives down the street to the stop sign. This was right before, like maybe an hour ago. This was when I was on my way to pick you up. And he pulls to the stop sign and he sits there. And then there's a space in between the cars and he doesn't go. I see him pull his phone out being spiteful. And I see him look up in the rearview mirror and look at me. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. And I was okay. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to honk because I almost just hit him. And then another car comes and there's an opportunity. Mind you, at 5:30 in like a industrial park where there's like a lot of businesses and shit.
Busy.
It does get a little busy. I guess it's not an industrial park. It's like a business fucking park. But It's usually where okay, anyway. So then I honk my horn because I'm like, fuck it, like fucking go. So he gives me another look. Then he waits again. Then he pulls out and he starts driving, going slow.
I don't have that much time to be that petty. Explain.
And then he goes and he tries to cut around all the traffic. Well, when he's cutting around all the traffic, somebody comes out and sideswipes him. And I LOL'd. I legitimately laughed out loud. That is L.O.L. Legitimately, like I was like, oh shit, he probably had some bad karma that I almost got sucked into. I was going to be that like, universal redemption, bitch. No, if I would have hit him when he was in my blind spot, that would have been but then it would have been my fault. So it would have been fucking, anyway, I just thought that was an interesting piece of information. That's what you get. Treat you with. Okay, so our topic today was kind of grab bag, but now that we talked a little bit about our topics, I think our topic is Philadelphia.
It sure is.
Did you like do that on purpose? Did I tell you about? Oh, I don't even know if I told you about
You told me about it, but you said you'll probably use it, but you didn't say like you would use it this time. All you said was to make sure you text Jason because we'll probably end up possibly having this.
No, that was for next one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah.
See where my head is?
Okay, so this one, I guess the topic is Philadelphia.
Yeah,
frick if I know. Make the choice up on your. Oh, I also forgot to tell you I saw Cirque du Soleil and I did get drunk on $60. 2 drinks, about $60. Yeah.
What?
Cirque du Soleil. Cirque to suck my ass, but it was great. And then I did get emotional and cry. So this bitch, can I just tell you how? Excuse me.
Why have you been like so emotional and crying?
That's what I'm saying. This
like
past
it's not
week
a bad thing. Like please. Like,
I think it's my period because I'm never like this ever. It started with the Wizard of Oz, and here we are. This girl was sitting on a pillow, and it was like
me.
It was like a It was this Indian girl, and she was sitting on a pillow, like meditating on the middle of the stage, and she had like a hook in her hair, and all of a sudden she just started fucking floating off the ground, and in my head, everyone's like, whoa, holy shit. And then like, the pillow flies back and she does acrobatics attached to this rope. Well, I'm looking at her and I'm like, okay, the rope is attached to the top of her head, but it's like, it's got to be running down like a pole that's in her back that goes like around her waist to hold her weight and shit. No, she had nothing. This rope was attached to homegirl's hair.
Oh, doesn't that hurt?
She went straight up to the top of the goddamn tent because I didn't know they still did circuses in tent. Yeah, traveling circus that was in a tent. I was like, is this like 1942 or
literally
like 2018? Like, what's good?
Like, what's up?
But it was a great show. Would suggest. Would
I love
refer a friend.
Stick the leg. What is it?
Circus Olay.
Circus Olay.
Yes.
I thought it was Cirque Olay.
No, it's Circus Olay.
Cirque Olay.
Yeah. Yes. Circus.
I'm doing it on purpose.
Circus of legs.
Oh.
Okay. So
Circus of legs.
Right,
Circus of legs.
I love the one day we record when we have to get shit done late. I decide to babble on for like 20 minutes. Babylon also. Do you guys remember the history of Babylon? I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna.
Get the fuck out of here. All right, let's dive in.
Whoa.
That was good.
Trey Songz. No. Barbra Streisand.
A man said I looked like her before.
Wait, I was with you.
Yes, at the dollar store.
The dollar store.
It was crazy.
Do you remember we thought we were on boiling points? Or maybe I was with Flora, where we legitimately, this customer in front of us was fucking up so bad we thought we were on MTV's Boiling Points. So I was just like, you know what? Let's play it up for the cameras, girl. And then he left, and I was like, "Do we not get money because we didn't snap?"
Bring out the cameras, pound that gavel, Dean.
Also, Lady Gaga was on Boiling Points.
What?
If you don't believe me, look
Just
it up
watch.
on YouTube. It was something with a salad.
Should we jump into this?
Jump in.
On February 25th, 1957, a young muskrat hunter set out to check his traps. He set them near a park just north of Philadelphia. As he moved through the field, he found a small cardboard box. Inside was the body of a boy, naked but wrapped in a plaid blanket. Fearing that the police would confiscate his traps, he ignored the box and resumed hunting.
Even though he found the body?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they confiscate his box? Is it like, I guess it would be illegal
his
to
traps.
hunt? Is he not allowed to?
It's illegal.
Okay, so I found a body, but I don't want them to take away me muskrats.
I'd just be like, I found the body. I don't know what those traps are. Bye.
Yeah, like what ties them to him?
Right.
I guess they would have been like, what were you doing out yonder?
Oh, right.
I love how making Philadelphia be like down yonder at the creek. Like it's a city.
It's a creek.
But he was doing Muskrat.
Several days later, a college student, it's alleged that the student went to LaSalle, but I'm not sure
Okay.
how true it is. Driving down the road, noticed a bunny running alongside the highway. The student knew there were traps in the area and stopped to make sure the animal was saved. As he sifted through the field searching for traps, he came across a box. He also feared interaction with the police, but still reported the body to them. The little boy in the box was 40 inches tall and just 30 pounds, with a full set of baby teeth, which put him between 4 and 6 years old. He was malnourished, and it was hard to tell his age. His nude body was badly bruised and was wrapped in an Indian pattern blanket of rust and green. His blonde hair had been recently chopped in a homemade crew cut. His torso had scrapes and cuts on it. His nails were trimmed. His skin on his right hand and feet were pruny, as though they'd been immersed in water before or after death. There were surgical scars on the boy's ankle and groin, and an L-shaped scar under his chin.
What do you mean surgical?
I don't know.
Like he had. I wonder if it was like an actual surgery or if it was like an at-home surgery.
Right.
Well, I guess if he had surgical scar. Okay.
You never know.
Yeah.
No one knew.
Hmm.
The cold weather had preserved the body, but he'd been dead long enough. From 3 days to 2 weeks.
Oh shit, because it was February.
And the pull of gravity had sunk his eyeballs back into their sockets.
Oh no.
The local media was fixated on this case. Pictures of the young boy were plastered everywhere, including flyers and gas bills for Philadelphia customers.
So the thing about that is they literally just took his like picture of him dead.
Yeah, and put it on there.
Oh, I'm looking at it now. It hurts.
He became known as the boy in the box. The boy's identity has never been determined, and the case has yet to be solved. The boy in the box was described as having blue eyes, fair complexion, and medium to light brown, crudely cut hair. His nails were neatly trimmed, and he had bruises covering much of his body and face.
Oh, he's a little baby.
Right. And initial thoughts were promising to police, and they were sure that someone would report a missing child or that his photograph would help lead to identifying the child and the murderer, but this never occurred. And nobody reported missing a child that fit the description of the little boy.
Which leads me to think maybe it was an unwanted child, or maybe the parents had something to do with it.
Right. Well, I have...
Your theories?
Yeah.
Okay.
Investigators focused on the baby bassinet box that the boy was found in. It was
a bassinet box?
Yeah. So it was like the box for the bassinet. It wasn't even the bassinet.
Wow.
It was a box for a bassinet.
The fucked up irony.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was one of 12 sold by a JCPenney store in Upper Darby.
That's where Tina Fey and my dad went to high school.
Right.
My dad went to high school with Tina Fey.
Oh, shit. I love that. All but one were tracked back to their owners. Even the boys' fingerprints and footprints came up negative when they were compared to a national database and hospital records.
Sorry if you guys hear that upstairs. I live with fucking rhinoceroses, I guess.
Well, Nas up there, so they're probably all...
Well, I told them all to shut the frick up.
Ha ha.
We have a house of like 4 people upstairs.
So this is the evidence I have. The boy's hair was cut and located throughout his body, indicating it was cut while he was...
In the box?
Yeah,
okay.
It was cut while he was dead and naked, or immediately before he died. His hands and feet were wrinkled, indicating that he was either submerged in water for an extended time just before or after he died. Like that. Ew, that sounded wet. Was that
wasn't
you?
Me. That was the turtle tank.
Yo.
I swear to fucking God. I hope that y'all just heard that.
Oh
the
my
fucking
God, that
turtle
was
tank
nasty.
just farted.
I thought you shit your pants.
I would have sent my ass upstairs. I would have been like, girl, you need to go check on that. We're stopping this podcast.
The child may have had a chronic eye alignment. The faded cheap flannel blanket he was wrapped in was made in either North Carolina or Quebec, Canada. It was also mass produced and shipped to multiple locations. His esophagus contained a dark brown residue, possibly indicating he vomited shortly before death. I'll get to that, why it's in evidence.
Okay.
He was severely malnourished. His cause of death was multiple blows to the head.
Oh, no. It's fucked up to say, but I hope one whack just knocked him out.
Right. The boy was buried in a potter's field next to Mechanicsville and Dunk's Ferry Road. The tombstone simply read, "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." Eventually, his body was exhumed in 1998, and they took DNA from him. So on November 11th, 1998, the boy was reburied in a donated coffin at Ivy Hill Cemetery, and a website was launched to keep this boy's memory alive and to help generate new leads. The website is America's Unknown Child. So this case remains still opened. The police officers, investigators who tried to keep this case moving forward are passing away, or they're too old to continue trying to figure this out. Chances are that individuals who killed this young boy are dead, and they'll never face justice for their crime. Experts agree that if this case occurred 10 or 20 years ago, the crime most likely would have been solved.
Yes, because, well, I don't know, depending on how young he was, but if you think about it, what about dental records? You said he had a full mouth of all his teeth.
Right. Well,
I also don't know if that was a thing back then.
Well, I feel like, don't you have to have
gone to the dentist for dental records?
Right.
Yeah. Bless you. Bless. All right, girl, I'm all out of blessings. You get 2 for the day. That's
I'm all out of blessings. Because isn't it if you never got your fingerprints done, you're not in the system for a DNA?
Correct. But, well, fingerprints aren't DNA. They're just fingerprints.
Well, I'm saying, like, you're...
Yeah, if you're not... that they do go into a database when you do something, but then you still have your fingerprints, so...
You still have your fingers.
Yeah. Also, here's a question. Asking for a friend. How weird is it that everybody has fingerprints that are all different?
Right, how?
1. 2, what happens if you severely burn your fingers? You know how, like, the skin gets weird?
Right, your DNA burns off, right?
It's not your DNA, it's your fingerprint.
Oh, well...
But how does it grow back? Because I know, like, this finger, you can see where it's, like, kind of still cut. Oh. I had it cut before where it was, like, down to, like, it was all cut up.
Right.
And now it grew back, and, like, my body knew where to put the fingerprints again. How you know that, body? Also, you know what's crazy? I've thought about this before.
Bodies are weird.
How do all of us, well, not everybody, but like most of the people on this planet have 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and we all look different?
Because we're different noses, different eyes, and different mouths.
I know, but think about how crazy that is.
Some have a small mouth, some have a large mouth. No.
Thanks, Dr. Seuss.
You're welcome. In 1957, the police department did not communicate or share information outside of their local areas. Media coverage was also limited to Pennsylvania/Delaware area. Today, this case would have made national news, and the information pertaining this case would have been available to all city and federal law enforcement agencies. So if this happened today, it probably would have got solved.
Yeah, because it didn't necessarily have to be from Pennsylvania.
Right.
He could have been from somewhere else.
In 1960, an employee of a medical examiner's office was told by a psychic that the boy in the box had come from a local foster home. The police asked questions about the boy at the foster home and found blankets similar to the ones he had wrapped in hanging on the clothesline.
Oh, do we know?
As well as the bassinet that was sold in the same box that the boy had been found in.
Oh, baby. Do we have any information on that? It's not released to the public.
Mm-mm.
I hope that's real because I want to get to the bottom of it.
Well, I also did research on, like, now, so I'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
The employee said that the boy had been born to the daughter of the man who ran. It says it was a theory, so this is alleged.
You love being alleged. I told you that one time to say alleged, and you're
now
covering
like,
all bases.
Alleged. It's alleged.
I forget what episode it was, but you were saying something really definitive, and I was like, girl, we probably legally shouldn't be putting that out there on the ether.
Alleged.
When you got to cover your ass, make it alleged.
The employee had a theory that the boy had been born to the daughter of the man who ran the foster home and that his death had been an accident. Despite the employee's instance of these facts, no connection was ever made. In 2002, an Ohio-based psychiatrist alerted Philadelphia authorities that a patient, Mary, had claimed for decades that her mother and father bought American's Unknown Child from an underground human trafficking outpost in Kensington. He was to be used as a sex toy, she claimed. One day, while struggling to bathe the boy, her mother beat him to death, she said. She told the psychiatrist that she accompanied her mom to northeast Philadelphia and watched her wrap the boy in a cheap blanket and toss him into the cardboard box. Fleischer believes that Mary and the psychiatrist were telling the truth. Even if Mary studied the case, even if she had some access to the files, she said things that mathematically, if you go by all probability, to me, I think were 8,000 to 1 that she's lying.
Oh.
Addresses line up, testimony checked out, descriptions matched. Nothing the woman said could be confirmed, but it also couldn't be discounted. As a witness, she may be mentally unstable.
When that happened, when the woman stepped forward, when was that? Was that more recent?
That was in 2002.
Did they ask her if she knew who the woman was still?
The woman said that her mom killed the boy.
Oh, she was saying her mom?
Yes.
Well, they already exhumed his body. Did she give DNA?
I don't think so.
Because her DNA,
it would be her mom's. Because
You're
her mom
right.
touched the...
Well, wait, hold on. Okay, I see what you're saying. I was thinking it was the boy's mother.
Oh.
So for a second.
No, because they adopted him. They bought him.
Okay, right.
Under like a sex trafficking ring, I guess. So she sat down with some investigators in 1957, and all three came away convinced. But after her real name leaked to the media, Mary clammed up. She left the country.
Wait, in 1957?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it wasn't in 2000?
No, they're referring to the day they found the boy in 1957.
Oh, okay.
Because I guess the detectives were there.
Right.
But as soon as they, her real name is not Mary.
What is it?
They don't say.
Okay.
It's like
Witness
protected.
Protection Program.
Yeah, but as soon as they found out her real name and it was leaked, she ran away.
Well, that doesn't mean she's guilty though, because if that leaks and people have her connected with it, then she's screwed either way.
That's true. So, my theories are a foster home was located 1.5 miles from the crime scene. As the first location, police officer went to check. There were 8 foster children residing there at the time. All children located at the foster home were checked out and the family was ruled out. Speculation still exists that Arthur Nicoletti, who ran the foster home, is somehow involved. He refused to take a lie detector test, and a psychic hired to assist in this investigation led investors directly to the foster home. So that's where that came from.
Also, I'm thinking maybe the kid, it's possible he could have ran away and then ran into trouble somewhere along the lines.
That's true. That's very true. And it just was this random person because he was trying to get out of the foster home.
Yeah, could have been.
The strongest lead, in my opinion, would be Mary, who claimed her mother purchased the boy from his parents in 1954.
If that is her real name, which it's not.
It's speculated that the boy's name was Jonathan.
Oh, that's my name.
He was regularly abused and housed in the basement. He was described as being handicapped and could not speak.
Where are they getting this information from? Is this from Mary again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mary claimed her mother killed him in February 1957 in a fit of rage by throwing him on the floor after he vomited in the bathtub after eating baked beans. Investigators thought that this was a lead they were looking for to finally solve the case. But 6 months after attempting to corroborate her story, she had a history of mental problems and none of the information she passed could be proven.
So is that why you were talking about what was found in his esophagus?
Yeah.
Because she knew when that information wasn't out in the public?
Right.
Interesting.
So
do we know that wasn't out to the public?
We don't know. This case was super hard to find because it happened so long ago.
Yeah.
So it's like it was just things that like everyone collected.
Yeah.
I was like going from website to website from website, like trying to like figure out like more information.
Use Reddit and web sleuths. I love it. Like
Really?
as long as their sources check out, because
Can you write that
web
down,
sleuths, especially like those people, like they're sleuths. Like
Yeah.
that's what they fucking do, is they pull us information. But as long as you're just making sure that it's like not
Real.
coming from someone's Zanga page.
Love that.
But usually they'll post links that are like good sources.
Oh really?
That's how.
Can you text that to me?
Yeah.
Thanks. So,
we never use web sleuths. That's what I use for like a lot of these. That's where I get
No, I just
links.
keep flipping through websites to see like if everyone's saying the same thing.
Google.com, but first ask dad or mom.
Literally. So March 2016, two authors state they believe they've solved one of Philadelphia's oldest and most notorious cold cases.
Well, that's a big claim to make.
Right. You know, the boy was dubbed the boy in a box. Today his grave reads America's Unknown Child. The details of the case in Philadelphia, putting the boy's name on a grave, is something that frustrated generations of police investigators. Like, they couldn't give him a name on his grave.
That's sad.
This is a quote. To put a name on the child's grave and to solve the case, it's the ultimate in police work. This was Sergeant Bob Kulimer said. Kulimer is a third generation of Philadelphia police detective to lead the case. In 1998, police exhumed the boy's body and took DNA samples for a remaining tooth. I guess nothing happened with that because they couldn't find anything.
But at least they have it on file.
That's true. Well, that's what these authors are saying. So, two authors from Los Angeles and another from outside of New York said they believe they traced the boy's family to Memphis, Tennessee, and need his DNA to prove it. While researching separate books, they've paired two tips together. One from a woman claiming her mother bought the killed boy, which was Mary,
Mm-hmm.
and the other from the Philadelphia man who told the authors his family rented a home to the man who sold his son.
Interesting.
They took a DNA sample from who they believe to be the boy's brother. The only way I'm going to find out
is if they have their hands on his DNA.
Right.
The only way they can find out is if they fucking have his DNA.
Right.
So can they not bring it to the detective and be like, hey, homeboy, this is what we got going on. Can we compare?
I don't know, because I feel like it has to be deeper than that. Don't they need something else?
I don't know if they would be able to do it, but I think if they give up that person's DNA, well, I don't know the legalities of it, because now you're literally passing around someone's DNA.
Well, they say the forensic experts will use pictures to judge if further laboratory analysis is required.
Use pictures of what?
I guess the boy.
What does that even mean?
I have no idea. But police are still trying to figure out what happened to this boy.
I doubt they. I feel like it's still an open
It sure
case,
is.
but it's a cold case.
And
like
that's the boy in the box.
Well, I'm depressed. That's so sad. Do you think they'll ever, like, in this time where we're starting to see more, like...
No, I feel like they find it in this time because it's in this time. Before, I feel like it's just too, like, old.
Well, I don't know, because they found one of John Wayne Gacy's, they identified one of his victims, like, last year. I don't even think it was a year ago.
True. Well, I hope they find this boy. That was 2016. It's 2018, and nothing has been talked about.
Yeah, because John Wayne Gacy was in, I guess it was the 60s, but that's not too far off.
Right.
So
right.
if there was a victim that was in like the 60s and 70s that they finally identified last year, you know, I'm hopeful.
I don't know, though, because for me, I feel like it's just too late. Because I feel like they don't have everything they need in place to find it.
Yeah.
I feel like today they do. But it's like, how do you apply that to...
Well, if they could find a relative. If they could find a relative and then they could branch it off into like a family tree of some sort. Unless he was like a child that nobody knew about. If he was in the orphanage. you know, if he was put up for adoption, maybe nobody knew about. So it could be murky waters, but I don't know. I'm trying to be fucking optimistic because I say things and they happen.
Yeah, so can you just say that I'll make a lot of money?
You're not going to say, I'm going to say, I hope that they identify this child.
I love that.
Mark your calendars.
Mark it. What you got for me?
Okay, mine is a lot lighter. No murders involved. Almost a murder. But I found this story. We were going to do this as a bonus episode. And then I was like, oh my God, this is like too much. I'm really selfish and I want to do this as my own episode. So this is the story of the mysterious Toynbee tiles. Have you heard?
Toynbee?
Open your laptop and I want you to type it in Google. And I want you to tell me if you've ever seen them, because this is what I told you I wanted to ask you before.
I took a picture of this.
What? Did you?
I took a picture of it. It's on the ground.
Yeah.
By like City Hall.
Yeah.
I put it on my story.
Oh my God. When?
Like a couple months ago. It said something like what does it say?
When you hear this story, I have seen them so many times on the ground, especially on South Street. I thought nothing of them. But when you hear this story, girl, hold on to your panties because they're gonna get moist. That's so funny. Okay, well, I'm glad you've seen them because everybody I've talked to has been like, no, except for Jason. And I told Jason, since he's a delivery man, if he like sees them, he needs to show them to me. Okay, so for those of y'all who don't know what the frick we're talking about.
But for mine, it didn't say Toynbee.
Okay, all right, we'll get to that because there are... Okay. So the Toynbee tiles. So in the early 1980s, these things started popping up on the streets and crosswalks around Philadelphia. They looked like they had been fused to the streets or something. I don't really know how you would explain it, but they're about the size of a license plate. They're linoleum tiles with colorful letters carved into them. So the tiles were put into position and stuck on the ground with tar paper and asphalt sealant. So you know that squishy shit? What?
I think I found it.
What's it?
House of Shades.
Yeah.
One man versus...
House of Hades, yeah.
House of Hades, One Man versus American Media and Society, 2011. That's the exact one I found.
Okay,
That's
well,
I took a picture of.
I'll talk about that at the end. Okay, I don't have...
House of Shades.
It's House of Hades, but it does look like shades. So basically... these tiles were put on the ground, and the weight of cars and foot traffic combined with the hot summer heat would gradually fuse these tiles to the street, and they would wear down the tar paper, and that would reveal the message. So each of these tiles have the words reading Toynbee idea in movie 2001 Resurrect Dead on planet Jupiter. So like I said, they were originally spotted around Philadelphia in the early 1980s, but they have since been seen in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, St. Louis, Cincinnati, New Jersey, Chicago, Boston, Kansas City, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., New York City, and even South America, totaling in at least 140 original tiles that researchers believe were made by the same person. Yes, bitch, researchers. And I'll get to why there are researchers on these things. So a lot of people think there's some form of graffiti. I know when I saw them, I think I read them once and it didn't make sense to me.
It didn't make sense to me either.
And I legitimately thought that like a college student our age had recently put it down.
I mean, for me, like I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. I don't know what it means, but it's cool.
Right. I think that's cool that you took a picture of it. If you see them again, take pictures of them and send them to me.
I got you.
Because now that we know they exist or the story behind them, we're going to like start seeing them more. So I definitely thought they were just graffiti because Philly, especially South Street, is like chock full of them. You know, it's full of them. So whoever did it, the person behind them, is referred to as the tiler, and they have never been officially identified. So at a glance, it seems like a very Banksy. You know Banksy?
Yeah.
Oh, remember that documentary I made you watch? And I was like, I promise it gets really good.
And I'm like, where?
No, it did. It was really good. If you guys want to watch a really good documentary, it's called Exit Through the Gift Shop, and it is so fucking layered. There's levels to this
layers.
shit. No,
it's a Shrek movie.
It's it's an ogre. It's an onion. No, I swear to God, like if you watch it one time and you go back and you watch it again, it's like a fucking movie about itself. It blows my mind, my body, my soul. Live, laugh, love.
I hate you.
And So at a glance, it just seems like a Banksy-style art project, but the story behind them is so fucking weird. Are you ready?
I'm strapped in. Let's do this.
She just put her seatbelt on. So the topic of these tiles has had a resurgence as the 2011 documentary called Resurrect Dead, The Mystery of the Toynbee Tiles was put on Netflix and Amazon Prime Video. I don't know if it's still out there, but you can find it somewhere. I don't know if they're still on Netflix and all that shit, but I suggest you go watch them. So let me talk a little bit more about these tiles. I feel like I'm talking in circles, but that's my brain when I was researching this. I feel like this topic... maybe the only one I researched more was the Britney Spears conspiracy theory, but this topic, like, I worked on the week before, and then I finished it up today, like 4 hours ago. Like, it's not that long, but there's so much fucking information, and there's so many different, it's nuts. All right, so I'm gonna try to keep a non-scattered brain.
Nudes.
So, like I said, roughly the size of a license plate. So it's 12 inches by 6 inches, but on some of the older ones, they're about twice that size. And again, I highly encourage you all to do a quick Google search of Toynbee Tiles. So this makes sense. Toynbee Tiles. Tiles. If you don't know, now you know. So what it looks like is the letters are carved out of a base tile, which is like a white tile. And then that tile is replaced with a something carved out of a different tile. So if you're going to carve a T in Toynbee, you have to carve it once in the base tile, then you got to carve it again in a green tile, and then put the green tile in the white tile. So it takes twice as long.
Oh, okay. No, I never saw any of them say Toynbee.
Okay, because those are the original ones, and I know they're on South Street.
Oh, okay.
But barely. So remember how I said there's at least 140 in the world from the same tiler? Well, it is assumed that it could take anywhere from 1 day to 1 week to make just one. Think about that amount of time. If it takes 1 week, I don't think it takes a week, but have you ever cut linoleum with an X-Acto knife? It ain't that easy.
I don't think so.
Wait till I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sweating. I'm like ready to tell this story. Can you tell?
Get ready. Jump in.
This is like one of those stories that I just want to like tell all at once, and I want you to have all the information. Like if I could plug my fingers into your nose and you would just like download it. But we can't do that. You can pick your friends. You can pick your nose.
I know, I saw it.
But you can't pick your friends' nose.
Yeah.
So, so again, the original tiles read the message, Toynbee idea, 2001, Resurrect Dead on planet Jupiter. So later they changed to Toynbee idea in Kubrick's I keep knocking this table. 2001, Resurrect Dead on planet Jupiter, which, you know, he has the movie 2001 A Space Odyssey. We'll get back to it. So it kind of sounds like gibberish and things that don't connect. And the words are laid out with like 2 words on the first line, 3 words on the second line, 2 words on the third line, 3 words on the fourth line.
Why?
I don't know, but you know, it's kind of like not a haiku, but haiku style, because it's like sandwiched like right. 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, here we go. And they're all like this, like across the board. So let's take a look at these lines, shall we?
Across the board. That was such a corporate term.
I say it all the time, and I don't mean to.
You should start saying down the pipeline.
Down the pipeline.
They love that.
Through the sewer.
It's it.
Straight to Pennywise.
I'm saying.
So the first line, Toynbee idea. So many people noticed that it could be like something to decipher, and that the letters Toynbee can be rearranged to spell teen boy.
Ooh.
However, there is a British historian by the name of Arnold J. Toynbee, and he was popularly recognized for a study of history, which was literally the title of his 12-volume book collection that studied the history of humans.
Love that.
So the next line is in Kubrick's 2001, or in movies 2001, which we assume is reference to the 1968 science fiction film 2001 A Space Odyssey, directed and co-written by Stanley Kubrick. So then the next line is Resurrect Dead, which goes without explanation. Did you see A Space Odyssey? 2001 A Space Odyssey? Okay, I'll explain a little bit of it, but it's kind of one of those movies where you can kind of explain it and people are just going to be like, a visual woo.
Oh, okay. Or they'll nod and agree when they don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
No, I feel like this is one of the ones where people are straight out going to be like, you know what, I probably have to see it. And then they would see it and then they'd probably be like, you know what, I still don't
get it.
Yeah. So the final line reads, on planet Jupiter. So Jupiter is the 5th planet from the sun, for those of y'all who do not know.
Do not know.
It is the largest in the solar system, and it is 2.5 times the size of all the other planets in the solar system combined, bitch. You take all of us all. I want to see Uranus. I want to see Mars. I want to see Jupiter. I want to see Pluto. Is Pluto a planet? In my heart, it still is.
It sure is. That small ass planet.
It's a Sarah planet.
It sure is.
And then you put them all together and you multiply that by 2, and Jupiter is
Why
still...
multiply by 2?
Because Jupiter
that's how big Jupiter is.
Jupiter's bigger than 2.5.
Boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. Girls go to...
Mars to get candy bars. What are you on that's crunchy? It's starting to piss me off. Are you on my bills?
You're literally going to the beach. How are you pissed? Because
you're on something crunchy. Ma'am.
I like the way it feels in my toes.
ASMR. I hope you guys like it. So, it's a gas planet and primarily is composed of hydrogen, and 1/4 of its mass is helium. Though helium comprises only about 1/10 of the number of molecules. Unlike other planets, Jupiter lacks a well-defined solid surface. So, bitch, what does this all mean? I don't fucking know. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.
I'm sure you're gonna.
So what does this all mean? 3 dudes from Philadelphia decided to find out in the year 2005-ish, ? So Justin Dier, Stephen Wynick, and Colin Smith joined forces, and this is in the documentary. So a massive amount of credit goes to these guys right here, as well as the documentarian John Foy, as well as a few others I will mention.
Malfoy!
Ladies and gentlemen.
Step right up.
Esoteric oddheads.
Here we go. Strap in.
Put your trays into the upright position because, bitch, we are about to go to another motherfucking planet, and I don't know if we're coming back. Do you got your tinfoil hat? Good, because I got a potato and I got nothing to wrap it in. Oh. Just kidding. It's just a little joke we like to do here. So, no, but shit's about to get weird. So, these tiles... Early 1980s, Philadelphia. Then people began finding them all over the country, as well as Brazil, Chile, and Argentina. They were located mainly on city settings, which were highly populated by people on foot, in the middle of the street. Some were even in the middle of the highway, as well as the middle of the freeway, where who the fuck's going to go run out there, slap it down, and hope they don't get hit? Fucking Roadrunner style. Wile E. Coyote. Whoa, I know who did it.
We're cracking the case here.
Yeah, but the thing about Toynbee is he died years ago. So all of them are reading Toynbee idea. You get it. Then what started popping up were these little side tiles with extra text on them. They vary in size, and what they say is all different depending on, the tiles they're connected to.
Are these the ones that are in Philly?
They were in Philly. I don't know if these ones are around anymore. Because I think just over time.
They're just... Yeah.
But you can find pictures of them. And these are referred to as sidebar tiles or sidebars or side tiles. So the smaller letters carved out read bizarre things, such as, quote, "You must make glue and tiles. You, ! 4 exclamation points, as in media is ... I'll have you know all of these letters are carved out. So if you want to make 4 exclamation points, you got to carve those fuckers out. So others say, quote, "I'm only one man, and when I caught a fatal disease, they gloated over its death," end quote. Another one says, "Please make and glue tiles as the American media is working with the Soviet Union and its thousands of fronts in US to ... and then it gets cut off. Great place to get cut off. Another one reads, "Under Freedom of Information Act, NBC journalists funneled FBI information on me to Soviet ... gets cut off. Another one reads, "Now the cult of the Hellion are now searching for more than one hell ideologies to get more reward." Another one reads, "And if this idea survives after all, make those Hellions pay for what they've done. I'm begging you. Thank you." And then it says something illegible. And then my favorite says, "Murder every journalist. I beg you."
Wow.
So to me, after reading these side texts, it seems less like a random art project. Well, it could still be an art project, but more like guerrilla propaganda.
I don't know. It seems like there's like a reason behind it.
Definitely could be. Someone who saw no other way to get their word out, to get it noticed, seemingly permanently in the public eye. That's who I see as the Tyler.
Does he do the robots too?
No.
Okay.
No, those are newer.
Okay.
That guy has been identified. So in later years of the Tyler, one massive tile was actually made up of 4 linoleum tiles. So like your standard linoleum kitchen tile.
Yeah.
Picture 4 of those. And this shit was carved in it. So it was found in the street on the intersection of 16th and Chestnut in Philadelphia. And it reads, John Knight Rider is the Philadelphia thug hellion Jew who'd hated this movement's guts for years, takes money from the mafia to make the mafia look good in his newspapers, so he has the mafia in his back pocket. John Knight sent the mafia to murder me in May 1991. Remember that fact. We'll come back to it. Journalists, illegible. You can't read what it says. It doesn't say illegible. Journalists, something, then gloated to my face about death and Knight Ritter, great power to destroy. In fact, John Knight went to the hellion binge of joy over Knight Rider's great power to destroy. I secured house with blast doors and fled the country in June of 1991. NBC attorneys, journalists, and secretary officials at Rockefeller Center fraudulently under the Freedom of Information Act, all illegible, orders NBC executives got the U.S. government, the U.S. federal district attorney who got FBI. This is like hard to read because this is like a scrambled ass message.
All of them are
I know. FBI to get Interpol and establish task force that located me in Dover, England, which back home Inquirer got union goons from their own employees union to, illegible, down, quote, sports journalists, who with ease bashed in lights and windows of neighborhood cars as well as men outside my house. They are stationed there still waiting for me. NBC, CBS, Group W, Westinghouse, Time Warner, Fox, Universal, all of the cults of the Hellion, each one were much worse than Knight Ritter ever was, most Hellion Jews. When KYW and NBC executives told John Knight, the whole coven gloated in joyous fits of how their Soviet pals would find a way to turn it into a ... and that's fucking it. Bro, did you look it up?
Is he okay?
Did you look it up?
That big long one.
Yeah. Though each letter was carved with an X-Acto knife. Each letter was like, think about that. That blows my mind.
Yikes.
So unfortunately, it has been paved over, but you can find images of it online. So then in like 2005-ish, again, these guys, they're doing the documentary, and they found out that there was an article written in the early 80s. So on March 13th, 1983, and if this timeline seems a little crazy because it's going to get a little crazy, I'll sum it up at the end to make it all make sense. And there will be a quiz at the end.
No.
Not us taking a quiz, like I will be quizzing you.
Fuck your quiz.
So March 13th, 1983, a journalist for the Philadelphia Inquirer named Clark DeLeon published an article titled, "Wanna run that one by me again?" ? So keep in mind, this article was run before the first tiles had been seen. So he says, call me skeptical, but I had a hard time buying James Morasco's concept that planet Jupiter would be colonized by bringing all people on Earth who had ever died back to life, then changing Jupiter's atmosphere to allow them to live. Is it just me, or does that strike you as hard to swallow too? Morasco says he is a social worker in Philadelphia and came across this idea while reading a book by historian Arnold Toynbee, whose theory on bringing dead molecules back to life was depicted in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. He's literally saying all this shit that ended up on these tiles in this article, right? And this was before the tiles had come out.
This man, right?
This is a journalist who's writing this. And what he's saying is someone called in. I'll clarify in a second. So here's I'm still reading this newspaper. Here's a quote. He says, Morasco says, this James Morasco fellow. He says, there are no significant principles I found that can make that possible, Morasco says, especially colonizing on planet Jupiter, which has a very poisonous atmosphere. The possibility of giving that planet an oxygen atmosphere is beyond even science fiction writers' imaginations. So that James Morasco dude who proposed that idea, that crazy fucking idea, he's saying that he understands that it sounds crazy. Okay.
Oh. And he is making this article before the tiles came out.
No. He is this James Morasco dude called in to DeLeon. DeLeon is the journalist who's writing this out.
Okay.
He's just like, hey, I had this dude call me. His name is James Morosco. This is the shit that he's saying. And like, I have no idea what's going on. It'll make sense a little bit later. So this is what De Leon is now saying in this article. Now that quote may sound as if Morosco doesn't believe it can be done, but that's not true. He believes that between Toynbee and Stanley Kubrick, there's a way to pull it off. That's why he's contacting talk shows and newspapers to spread the message. He's even founded a Jupiter colonization organization called the Minority Association, which consists of, quote, me, Eric, Eric's sister who does the typing, Frank, ... So you may be hearing more about Morosco, but then again, you may not. So that's the end of that article. It was a short article that nobody really talked about. It was just like, hey, here was a crazy caller. I'm going to throw it in the newspaper. So now we have this dude out of left field, James Morosco, who's calling into the media, specifically the Philadelphia Inquirer. He's mentioning this minority association, secret society, and how life can be resurrected on planet Jupiter, though I don't know how secret his society is about to be, bitch. So then 2 years after the article was published, a man named David Mamet published a play in 1985. David Mamet is an American playwright, film director, screenwriter, and author. He won a Pulitzer Prize. He received Tony nominations for his plays. He's written tons of shit, including Heist in 2001, Hannibal in 2001, The Untouchables in 1987, and so much more. If you want to check it out, imdb.com, you can find it. So he's a credible guy. Like he's pretty known. So his play was published in 1985. However, he wrote it in 1983. This is a year that keeps coming around, isn't it? So this one act play that he wrote is called 4 a.m. The plot follows an interaction between a radio show host and an anonymous caller who phones in. The dialogue between the two, that's pretty much the plot of it. So I got a couple snippets from there. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it says from his play, in the movie 2001, based on the writings of Arnold Toynbee, they speak of a plan, ... In the writings of Arnold Toynbee, he discusses a plan where all life can be easily reconstructed on planet Jupiter. As we're all made of molecules, Greg, and the atoms of all life that have ever lived are still in all of us. We'd like to publicize our organization, Greg. We're very young. We've just been in existence for over 1 year, but we want to publicize our theory. And Greg, we don't know how. That was in the play that David Mamet wrote. So what David Mamet was asked about where he got these ideas from, he says, quote, you can actually get an audio clip of him saying this. He says, people ask me where I got that idea from. I tell them, I think of them. There was no caller on the radio. I made it up. So now they think, those guys that the documentary is about, they think that this James Morosco dude who wrote or called, I think he called into the Philly Inquirer, they think he's got to have some connection to this David Mamet dude who has like somewhere high up in H-Wood, if you will.
H-Wood, I hate.
Yeah. So they find the only James Morosco living in the area, and baby, he lives in Chestnut Hill. That's where I was born.
Ooh.
So they try to contact him, and a woman answers the phone. They ask for James Morosco, and she says he can't come to the phone right now. He got sick years ago and had his voice box removed.
Oh.
So
how coincidental.
His wife said that the media had in fact contacted them before and asked them about the tiles. This when she's being contacted right now, what I'm talking about.
Arthur Toynbee, he's not a real person.
He is a real person.
Okay.
Arthur Toynbee wrote all those books that I talked about before,
right,
but he died. He has nothing to do with this right
now.
So
he's not doing the Toynbee Tiles.
No. Okay. He had the concepts. He wrote these books. He died back in fucking, I'm going to look it up right now so I can tell you an exact date. He died in 1975, so just a couple years before the tiles were seen. So now when they're calling the wife on the phone, this is like 2005-ish. So she's just like, yeah, years ago when that article came out, people had called us back in the 80s and had asked about anything having to do with, Toynbee and Planet Jupiter. And the wife said that her husband, James Morosco, had no idea what the fuck any of it was about. Right. So besides that, based on this James Morosco that they're calling who lives in Chestnut Hill, he would have been in his mid-70s in the early 80s when the tiles were first spotted. So they're thinking maybe he didn't do it. Maybe he had somebody else, like a minion under him, do it. But they don't think he in particularly did it.
Which would be smart.
Yes. So then the three who are investigating...
I simply think of them.
I know, right?
How modest.
So then these three guys investigating, they get an email from this dude named Joe. And Joe says he lived on Passyunk in Philly. And Joe said sometime in 1985, he was watching the news at night when something took over his TV. Shit gets weird. Here's a clip.
Look, I got a real story here because I heard this. I was watching Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock on Channel 3. I was by myself, kind of in the dark, just like chilling out. All of a sudden, I heard this thing about Toynbee's conception of Clark's 2001 or whatever it was. Like the television newscasters talking, and all of a sudden, like they kind of faded out, and then this voice comes in, you know, and then they said it real fast, and then there's like all this static, and then it went away. Somebody hijacked the TV news, and they're beaming this Toynbee idea thing at me. Like it took me a minute to like get my head together, like what's going on here. So I thought I got to find out what's going on here. So I called Channel 3. I called them up. I'm like watching your news, and I just heard this thing about Toynbee, and the person who's the operator is like, yeah, well, you're not the only one.
Can you imagine being high as shit and just having that come through your television?
Nope,
just
because
like a
when
message?
I'm high, I literally, all my senses are like 10 times heightened. So like anything I hear, I'm like, what the fuck was that?
What the fuck was that? All right, so that shit's crazy. We'll get back to it. So fast forward back to the early to mid 2000s. Someone finds in Santiago, Chile, in South America, they find a fucking tile with, guess what, bitch, an address on it. And guess where that address is?
Here.
It is a street in South Philadelphia. Someone's house. So these three dudes, they find the house that matched the address, and the front door has a steel bar through it with two deadlocks on it. Never seen that before. And on the block, all over the street, there are these prototype tiles where it looks like someone was testing them out to be like what sticks, like how to carve it. They didn't make sense. They were just like shapes and like letters, like with complicated things, like as if someone was practicing and seeing if it could stick.
Right.
So the man who lived there, his name is Sevi Verna, aka Sevi the Birdman. And the man who lived there just before him, these guys start talking to the neighbors, and the neighbors are giving them the rundown, the lowdown, the hoedown of the neighborhood.
Hoedown, throwdown.
Oh my God, you have to hear the dude who they talk to. His name is Franny. He's this extremely his Philadelphia accent is so thick. It's just like this Italian gay guy, and he's just like, yeah, they were throwing fists at each other in a Wawa parking lot. You should have saw that in Italian ice. You want a hoagie? It's so humid out. Humid. We have awful accents. I don't think we have accents.
I have a slight Scranton accent where I say like, knock it off.
Oh my God, True Crime Girls were talking about Scranton today, and I was dying.
Okay,
so the dude who lived there before Sevi the Birdman he was called Railroad Joe. This sounds like a fucking cartoon, right? But that's what they called him. So he lived there into the early 80s. His real name was Julius Paroli. And he worked for Conrail. So these three guys find an old Conrail map that was active in the late 70s into the 80s. They found that the railroad that Railroad Joe worked passed straight through every city that there had been found, that a tile had been found in, including out of the country in Chile.
Look at that.
But this was back in the early 70s when the world's largest telescope was being built in Chile. Is it Chile or Chile?
It's Chile.
Chile's baby back ribs.
It's okay. I guess Chile. That reminds me of Chile.
Oh my God, 3LW. So parts of the telescope were being transported one by one. And in an article about this world's largest telescope, the fucking article, for some fucking reason, mentions Julius Paroli by name.
See?
So now it's like not just the neighbors talking. This shit's in ink. These guys did like an incredible job of doing their fucking research. And here I am just regurgitating it. I did some research. I added to this. So I showed my parents this, and my dad was researching the dude who was in the documentary. Nice. And he was just like, you should email him. Add him on Instagram. Here's his Instagram. My dad's like texting me. I love my dad too. So
what a great man. 10/10.
Would recommend. So love you, Robbie, if you're listening. Love you too, Barbie.
Also love Barb. She's
love Barbie.
The greatest person I've ever met.
So these guys, they go to a library and they try to find something on Paroli, this Railroad Joe, if you will. So they find out he comes from a long line of gravestone carvers.
See?
Where they're carving letters.
Si se puede.
One by one. Interesting, right? So it's strange, but Julius Paroli died in 1980. I think 1987.
Well, there could be, he could have taught people how to do it, and then.
Or I think I may have got that year wrong. It might have been 1977. But wait, no, it was 1987. He died in 1987. He no longer lived in that house. But the tiles were found after that into the 90s. But you're right. That's what I was going to get at, is that he could have like taught somebody, including the person who lives there now, Sevi Verna, aka Sevi the Birdman. So according to neighbors, he's a really quiet guy. He's the type of guy who goes to a grocery store at 4 a.m. so he doesn't have to talk to anybody. Literally relatable. Literally me. Oh my God, so relatable. So the neighbors say he's an incredibly smart man, but again, he doesn't like to talk much or be seen much. So make note that the neighbors that they're talking to don't really know much about these Toynbee tiles or anything they're making this fucking... Okay. They're like, "What? Why do you want to know about him? Like, what's going on?" They kind of give them like a brief rundown, but they're not explaining all the shit that I'm explaining to you. So then, bitch, are you ready for this? One neighbor talks about how crazy Sevi's car is. You want to know something about Sevi's car?
Oh, show me a pic.
2 interesting things about Sevi's car.
Go.
1, he's got a massive radio antenna. And 2, on the passenger side, there's a missing floorboard. Almost as if whoever's driving, without getting out of the car, could just plop a tile on the ground, run it over with a tire, and then let the summer heat do its thing to bind it to the ground.
Wait, his floor is missing?
His floor on the passenger side, yeah, it goes straight to the street.
Ugh. Oh, so he could drop it in.
He could.
Ooh.
And that antenna seems very interesting. You know, you could come to the conclusion he could have been into shortwave radio.
I'm saying.
Possibly drive around the area, including where that Joe man lived.
Drop some fucking...
No, the Joe dude that I played the clip from.
The antenna
where
thing.
he's watching
with the
TV. Mm-hmm. He could have been trying to get his Toynbee idea out there. His Toynbee idea.
And I bet him and the old guy... Paluccio, whatever the fuck.
Paroli. It's like pierogi. Don't get a fricked up.
I bet they were gonna start it, but he died, so then he had to take it over.
It could have been. Yeah.
Ooh, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say it could be a couple of things, but I'll get to it when I'm at my theories, which is coming up soon.
Okay.
So Sevi also played the organ and the accordion, according to his neighbors, and he would play it really loud at night. Now did you hear that? It sounded like a fucking lion. Like, do you ever watch, like, from Jumanji when they open the closet door and the things Jumanji. On the bed? That's what it sounded like. It smells like tuna salad. That's either my fucking burp or my armpits.
Love that.
My armpits smell like a radish.
What
Back
does
to
a
the
radish
story.
even smell like? I'm good.
Okay. Just you asked. I was giving you a chance to whiff it up. Whiff it real good. So he would play it really loud at night, his accordion and his organ. So between the loud music and the shortwave radio, his next door neighbors, who were drunks, or according to Franny, they's was drunks.
Right.
That's literally what he said in the movie. It's so funny. So these guys, between the loud music and the shortwave radio, were fucking pissed off and sick of his shit, broke into his house and held him at knife point. Now, remember in the manifesto tile, how they were saying, how whoever carved it was saying that someone was sent to kill him?
Oh, yeah.
In 1991.
Wait, so what guys went in and beat him? Some
randos who were the neighbors, because he was being really loud. They were like, we're sick of this.
Oh, okay.
So they went in and held him at knife point, and they were like, stop what you're doing. And possibly, if this is who they're looking for, possibly that person, Sevi, would have been like, this is the FBI is sending people because they don't want me to get this Toynbee idea out. We'll come back to that.
Disclosure, I took my bra off while walking through the mall today.
So then shit gets crazier when these guys, they get a backlog of all these emails from toynbeetile.net, which was run by some other dude they didn't know, but they started collaborating with him while they were making the documentary because they were like, hey, we're trying to figure this shit out. We're making a documentary about it. Well, that guy ended up totally not giving a fuck about it. In the end, he's just like, you know what? I've been wasting all my time for about 20 years or since however long the fucking internet's been out. Yes. So he's just like, here, guys, you guys are making a documentary. Have the backlog.
This info. Mm-hmm. I'm done. I'm over it. I'm wiping my hands of this.
So they find in there somewhere that there was a dude who had an original pamphlet from the secret society, the Jupiter Colonization Organization, better known as the Minority Association. So they email this dude in like 2005, it might have been 2006ish. They email this dude who had talked to the ToynbeeTile.net a long time ago, and they were just like, hey, what's good? Like, do you still have this pamphlet? And he sends the document over. For some fucking reason, this dude still had this document about the Minority Association.
Probably knew that
so
it would be
this is crazy.
needed.
They finally have their hands on something tangible that isn't like just a
like someone saying something.
yeah, or having it written in the Inquirer. So in this thing, it's written by guess who? James Morasco, where he addresses himself by his name, James Morasco.
James was the one who got his voice box fucked up, right?
The one that they found. They don't know if that's the James Morasco they're looking for.
Oh, and that's the one who did that play with the...
No, that's Mamet. James Morasco is the dude who called in to the Inquirer.
Oh, about the TV and how he heard them say...
No, that's Joe.
Oh my God.
We do have a lot going on here. Did you guys take notes? I'm telling you, there's a quiz on this, and it's not looking like you're going to do too well.
I told you.
So James Morasco was the dude who called into the Philly Inquirer who was talking about, hey, we have this organization, and we're gonna bring people back to life on Jupiter.
Oh, okay.
So he is kind of where the root of this idea is coming from.
Okay.
Where David Mamet may or may not have been
in on it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So James Morasco, he's addressing himself by his name except for one line where he slips up and refers to himself.
I know who it is.
As
the man with the car. Yes. What's his name?
Sevi Vera.
Yes, I knew it.
So now they're thinking James Morasco never fucking existed.
Right.
That it's been Sevi this whole time using an alias as a frontman for this organization. Because
the guy that lived there before him was literally in charge of everything.
Well, we don't know. We don't know if Railroad, with our info,
how is it that this guy knew how to do that, and then all of a sudden this new guy who was now figured out to be an alias of someone who's also involved?
Well, Railroad Joe, hang on, let me finish this, and then we'll come back to Railroad Joe, baby. Don't you fret. So I think that Sevi Verna is possibly mentally unstable. He might have Asperger's, or he might be somewhere on the spectrum. He might not be, but they can't get a hold of him. And sometime in the early 80s, here, I'm giving you a timeline here. Sometime in the early 80s, he reads the books of Arnold Toynbee. Then he watches 2001: A Space Odyssey. He connects Toynbee's ideas using Jupiter's atmosphere to resurrect dead molecules scientifically to the ending of the Space Odyssey movie, where a man, spoiler alert, like dies, and then it can be interpreted that he's reborn on planet Jupiter. So maybe this whole time, Julius Paroli, Railroad Joe, what's good, who again was the man who lived in the same exact home before Sevi did, which, they found the address on a tile in South America. Maybe he worked with Sevi on this idea, like you were saying, to spread his idea. And he was like, yeah, I'll spread it on my railroads across the country, specifically when he was in Chile.
I was going to say Chile.
I feel like I've heard it said both ways, and I feel like when people say Chile, they say like, no, it's not Chile.
Well, isn't there a thing? A hyphen at the E?
A Beyonce?
A hyphen at the E?
It's called a Beyonce. They changed it
because that's like A. Like Chile.
Was good. It might be. I'm just going to... You fucking get it. Send me an email with your complaints, please.
Please don't.
So... maybe Railroad Joe had something to do with it.
He had to have. I don't think that... I keep forgetting his name.
Paroli.
No, the one that now lives in
Sevi.
the same house. I don't think that he could come up with that himself.
I don't know.
Also, they're saying that Sevi is like alleged, but how did the tiles get there then?
Where, on the ground?
Yes.
Well, the only thing is literally nothing really here is factual. Don't you love when I bring stories that are all non-factual, but we have like a lot of, it's a mystery. So.
This is making me anxious.
I know. And it's crazy because I've seen them on the ground, and now that I get what they're about, or like at least what we think they're about.
It's crazy because when I took a picture of it and when I saw it, it gave me such an eerie feeling. Like the vibe that I got, it was like off. Like it was like, this seems like
spooky,
complicated.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting you took a picture of it, Because you don't really take many pictures of fucking graffiti and shit you find on the ground. You specifically.
No, because it just, like I said, the feeling that I got, it was just very eerie.
I didn't fucking see you post it. Otherwise, I would have queefed my asshole.
I posted it on, it was either Snapchat or Instagram.
Oh, I don't do Snapchat. That might be why.
That's probably why.
Something to keep in mind. Maybe Sevi reached out to the media to spread his idea because he thought that it would really work if we could resurrect, people on Jupiter. Because as it fucking turns out, there was a call to the Larry King live show back in the early 80s, and it almost verbatim was the play 4 a.m. by David Mamet. So now people are thinking David Mamet heard the call and it triggered him to write a play about it because it was almost verbatim. Where the fuck are you going to get these ideas about Toynbee? 2001.
Right.
Resurrect Dead.
They just come to me now.
Yes. So after hearing Larry King and all these, the media was pretty much just mocking him, and they were just like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck is this about? This doesn't make any sense. Totally ignore him. He created the character James Morosco. So that was the mask he was hiding behind so he could talk to the media. And it also kind of gives it credibility if you have a face who, or at least more than one person of a secret society organization, quote unquote. So then he calls the Philadelphia Inquirer, where Clark DeLeon, wrote his article critiquing and almost making fun of the mysterious caller. So maybe Sevi did the only thing he fucking thought he could do to get, he's literally calling Larry King Live to get it out there in the universe, and people are shutting it down.
Just kidding.
So he's thinking, okay, how the fuck am I going to do this? Because maybe if he's a little off, he's thinking these are the people in the media. They know I'm onto something, but they don't want to put it out there. So they're shutting it down, and they're leading all the other sheep, which are their viewers, their listeners, the people of America. They're letting all those sheep to not believe any of the shit that I'm telling them. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go straight to the point and do something as permanent as I can that's going to hopefully last longer than graffiti if somebody tries to paint over it. I'm going to go the unique way, and I'm just going to carve these fucking complicated ass tiles, drop them where people can fucking see them in crosswalks and stuff, starting in Philadelphia. And, people are going to drive over them and it's going to be embedded in the ground. And that's what I'm going to do. Maybe he had that idea. Maybe Railroad Joe had that idea. Cause remember, he did carve stones. Well, his family did. He didn't. He was the railroad worker. Right. But
he still knew how.
He didn't know how to carve well, maybe, I don't know.
You never know his skills.
But he didn't have to. You don't have to carve a stone to carve a linoleum tile. I can't carve a fucking stone, but I could probably carve a linoleum tile. It's hard though. I've done it before. But I don't know about letters because that shit gets slippery. Whoop. And think about it. If you fuck up on that base tile, that's it. Sevi never responded. He doesn't leave his house. And a family member of Sevi's watched the documentary that was made, Resurrect Dead, and they say Sevi had nothing to fucking do with it.
They don't know him.
He has no idea what you guys are talking about. He doesn't know anything about Toynbee Tiles. So we don't really get an answer. All of this shit is just assumed. All these people are being thrown up there. And honestly, I'm sorry if I didn't, this is where we're coming to a conclusion here. But if I didn't close any ties what is that thing? What is that saying? If I didn't close any Ziploc bags that I opened, I'm sorry if the food goes stale.
Tiny loose ends.
Yes. Thank you. I knew it was something about snacks. I highly encourage y'all. I did not do the fucking documentary justice, but I fell down that hole, baby. And that hole, it's gaping.
Fall down the hole. Fall down the hole. Fall down the hole. Fall down the hole. Okay.
What? Is that even a song or is that just...
I made it up.
Oh, I like it.
Thanks.
I like it like that. Now that is a song by Cartier Barty.
I like it like that.
So yeah, we just have these fucking 4 lines dancing around in our heads for the rest of eternity until somebody steps up.
Can
and
someone
tells
figure
us.
this out? Toynbee Tiles, 2018. Figure it out. Thanks.
So that's the possible story behind the mysterious Toynbee Tiles.
Still mysterious because no one actually knows what the fuck happened.
Yeah. I asked my parents if they had seen them. They said no. Jason has seen them. I have seen them. Oh, okay. Wait. Here's a Ziploc bag that I'm about to close. You had brought up
loose ends.
The one that you said. Okay, so after this documentary came out, or at least a little bit before the documentary came out, they started there was a resurgence of people who were obviously copycats. There have been Toynbee Tiles that they know are not authentic because the letters don't match.
Y'all ruin everything.
But then there's the Who were those people you were talking about?
Who?
The House of who?
Hades.
Oh yes, the House of Hades. They're not trying to convince people that they are the Toynbee Tiles. They're using that as like an art thing. So they're not trying to take credit. So the House of
Hades one is not real.
No,
Toynbees.
Those ones are not real. So if you see them,
that's what I took a picture of. That's probably why you didn't notice.
They're not. No, but I would have recognized it.
I think it was on Snapchat.
But I don't know how many are left because there were 140 that these people could account for. And dude, if you look it up online, like there's so many fucking like this story. I'm so surprised that I didn't know this shit was going on. It was big enough in 2005 that they were like the documentary they're talking about. The dude was trying to go to the library, the Philadelphia Public Library, when they got the internet. Like the second the internet came out, someone was like Toynbee, like what is this? Like
oh shit.
Yeah, this shit's been on and popping like question mark, like what's good?
Well, that's good that he put his name on it, because then imagine if he didn't, then people would be like mysterious tiles in Philadelphia. Like what are they?
Well, there's it. I have to say, these are not the only people who were in Philadelphia who were looking at it. There were a couple other people who were trying to make a documentary, but these people kind of beat them to the chase. So I don't know exactly what other people did research on or what other people's stories are, because there's so much goddamn information.
Right.
And this story was pretty much what had like the most meat. But also, I think it's so peculiar that if you're going to fucking, why the hell would you put your address on a tile and drop it in South Africa or South America? Why would you do that? Like,
because they probably thought, like, who's going to see it here? It's not going to get traced back.
But why even bother to make it if you're going to say
never know. Maybe he wanted that.
Okay, so then you come to his house and legitimately on his block, he has test tiles. You don't think it was Sevi? You don't think it was Sevi?
Now that you say that, I don't think it was. I think
it seems weird. I think
there was someone who made the tiles. I think Sevi had a plan. Like you said, it was a society, so different people had different jobs.
He said it was an association.
Oh.
And he said James Morosco was part of it.
But James Morosco's fake.
We don't know if he's fake.
Right.
But most likely,
it was an alien.
I looked up in the to see if there was anyone in Philadelphia. I went out of I was checking Facebook for people. I found some of these people's Instagrams.
Love that. FBI here. If you think your partner's cheating on you,
call me.
Hit him up.
I'll be the FBI. If you think your husband's cheating on you, call me. If he's hot, I'll fuck him, and then I'll let you know, hey, he cheated on you with me. Cough up the cash, baby.
Right now, let's go.
Also, can I really quickly talk about how my cat has thrown up twice since I got her?
Love that.
And both times it has been like my downstairs is all wood floors and tile, and she chose to throw up on the bath mat. Both times.
Love that. She's like, I'm gonna do this.
And then she fucking made biscuits on it. You know, when she makes biscuits, she like massages
She's like,
it.
It's cookies.
You want a slice, Daddy? Hot and fresh out my oven.
Ew. Cat throw up is nasty.
Yeah, so now we got a lot of shit to think about. Would you like to share with us your fun fact?
I have a fun fact and a tweet of the week. So this is...
Whoa, that's what we're normally supposed to do. Oh, they're combined.
Makeup for WOC. So black-owned makeup line Pat McGrath is now valued at $1 billion, surpassing Kylie Cosmetics. Fuck you, Kylie. You didn't build your empire. I don't care. You had a platform before you started this. You don't deserve that Forbes thing. I don't give a fuck. If anyone has some backlash, you could gladly go on over to my Instagram and try to win your case, but I assure you won't.
End scene. I thought I was the dramatic one. Holy shit.
That really got me heated. That got me so fucking heated.
Yeah, I think. And then for some reason, there's dumb little girls who are sending money to Kylie. 1, 2, how are we going to talk about this? Strap on, because I think, yes, she has a platform. She does not deserve the title of being a self-made anything.
Well, I meant she has a platform, meaning she was famous before this. So, of course, it was easy for her to pan out a platform. It was easy for her to buy a fucking industry.
To sell out in minutes.
It was easy for her to... by platform, I mean, like, she has an Instagram with already 1 million followers. Right. All she had to say was, I'm dropping this makeup line of lipsticks. Everyone buy them. There you go. Boom. And then she already had money to start it up. She already had money for the factory. Like, she already had money. Like, why not put someone who started from nothing on Forbes?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what Forbes is about.
And
I thought.
And I think we can be pissed at Kylie if we want to, but I think Forbes is the fucking one
I'm
to
not
blame.
pissed at her. It's them.
You said fuck you, Kylie.
Well, fuck her too, because she's like putting it out there. Like, you could at least acknowledge the fact that you already had a fucking platform.
True.
Like, you can literally still be grateful and acknowledge the fact that maybe you aren't so deserving of it.
True.
It's called being fucking humble.
Sit down.
And if anybody wants me to start a podcast with my opinions, let me know.
We're going to call it Sarah Opinions.
Sarah's opinion!
I love a good vine. So my fun fact is there are 70 ingredients in the McRib sandwich.
Whoa.
Are any of them
that's
real?
Really, really alarming.
You know how many ingredients are in a salad?
5.
1. My butthole.
Love it. Toss
it, baby. So my tweet of the week, shout out to Julia at 2buns.
Hi, Julie.
The O is a 0 and the S is a Z. So 2buns says, thought I had experienced true pain before until I spent this morning throwing up Takis. Curse this Caucasian weak stomach. I fucking died.
Love her.
I said, I'm dying right now. Rip in pieces. She said, I listened to your podcast and I'm 99% sure that's what drove me to buy Takis because you were talking about how crunchy they are.
See? Hot Cheetos and Takis.
Thank you guys for
that
listening.
That concludes the episode.
Head on over to patreon.com/esoteric
Support us. Pay us. We are poor.
How do we end these?
Just send it. We're gone.
I still have to pee.
Bye. Jonathan needs to pee.
Bye.